Close enough.
But it always runs a couple of minutes.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Always is.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, you ready? Okay, very good. Folks, welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of June 26, 2019. Would you be kind enough to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, thank you very much, Steve. For the folks at home, I have up on the screen the items we'll be discussing this evening. We hope it'll be a short meeting. It is a short agenda. Not sure they can read those public hearing notices, but let me see if I can blow it up a little bit. Very good. So announcements, just a couple of announcements. We want to let you know the holiday hours. The 4th of July is approaching, and Town Hall will be closed both Thursday, July 4th, and Friday, July 5th, in observance of Independence Day. The other announcement we want to let you know is many of you are aware that New York State passed a law modifying the public health law to require vaccinations for children attending school. There's a removal of exemptions, religious exemptions. And the reason I bring that up is because we've taken a little bit of time to try to research this, because we have our summer programs in Rec Park. And it would appear, and I've given you in your packet here, it would appear that it also applies to summer schools or summer child daycare programs or camps that are overseen by OCFS, and we do receive some funding from the Office of Children and Family Services. And so I assume that means that this requirement applies to our program. So we'll advise our recreation department of this, and they will reach out to the families that are interested in participating in the program. Okay, we have a public hearing scheduled for 7:35. It's regarding the proposed acquisition of the former St. Sylvia's parcels. And Sue, would you be kind enough to read the notice, please?
Please take notice that a continued public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook on June 26, 2019 at 7:35 p.m. local time at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, to hear all interested persons regarding the acquisition of real property for the following parcels for the public purposes of enhancement of recreational programs, expansion of community facilities, and preserving historic resources. Excuse me. Tax parcel 134-803-617-1838-5028, which is 104 through 108 Broadway in Tivoli. Tax parcel number 134-803-617-18-3835052 Broadway in Tivoli, and tax parcel 134-803-617-18-404054, which is 93 Broadway in Tivoli. Reputed owner, Church of St. Sylvia, with which parcels have been offered for sale to the public pursuant to authorization of the Archdiocese of New York. At the continued public hearing, the town shall outline the purpose of the public project and its effect on the environment, including the economic, ecological, and social effect upon the community, and any other information, including maps and descriptions of the property to be acquired. All persons having an interest in the project are invited to attend the hearing and give oral and written statements and to submit other documents concerning the public purpose of the proposed acquisition. This hearing is held pursuant to the provisions of Section 201 and 202 of the Eminent Domain Procedure Law of New York. Property owners who may subsequently wish to challenge the condemnation of this property via judicial review may do so only on the basis of issues, facts, and objections raised at such hearing. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard in person or by directing comments in writing to the town board, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York. All reasonable accommodations will be made to persons with disabilities. In such a case, please notify the town clerk in advance at the above address or by phone 845-758-4606 so arrangements can be made. Please take further notice that tax maps of the properties available for review at the office of the town clerk, Red Hook Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York. By order of the town board of the town of Red Hook, this was dated May 22nd, 2019. Susan, town clerk, town of Red Hook.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sue. And just to update the folks at home, if you've been watching our previous meetings, the town and the Archdiocese of New York have been in negotiations with regard to the former St. Sylvia properties. We are still in negotiations. The church has agreed to negotiate with us exclusively, and we appreciate that consideration. It is their desire, if possible, to see that the town acquire the properties for public purpose, and so we continue to negotiate with them. We do have a couple of issues that still need to be worked out, and so we may have more to report at a later date. I'm going to make a recommendation that after I open this public hearing, that we consider an extension of the public hearing into August, at which time hopefully we'll have more information. So with that said, would anybody like to make some comments during the public hearing? That was quick. We did receive some correspondence. We have a letter from Linda Murphy, and I'll just summarize. She talks about the importance of the church and of the value to the community. She writes to us, as others have, that she would like to see the church preserved and the stained glass windows. That's one of the issues for discussion with the church. The church normally retains its religious artifacts, and so those discussions continue. And she expresses her opinion. She would like to see the stained glass windows remain. Okay, hearing no additional comments, what I'd like to do is suggest that we continue the public hearing. We have a resolution to that effect. That is a resolution number
66.
Thank you, Sue. Dated June 26. It's establishing a date for a continued public hearing regarding the proposed acquisition of former St. Sylvia's parcels. And the resolution asks that we continue it until August 13th, 2019 at 7:35. That would be the first meeting in August.
So move.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. Okay, we have a second public hearing, which deals with proposed local law E of 2019, something we've been working on now for how long? Perhaps a year and a half or more? And at last we left. We had closed the public hearing on the comp plan amendment. That amendment seeks to remove the floating light industrial district from our zoning code. And we did our part 2 seeker review, if you recall. The one thing we were waiting on was a second referral. We made some minor changes a couple meetings ago. And so we referred back to county planning, and we did receive from them the referral stating that it was a matter of local concern. And that's in your very large packet. So what's left to do is take any comments on local law E tonight and to take a look at what our seeker conclusions are. So at this time, I would like to open the public hearing on local law E.
Would you like me to read the
Just to
notice?
read it.
Okay, read the notice. Thank you, Sue.
Please take notice that a continued public hearing will be held by the town board of the town of Red Hook on June 26, 2019 at 7:35 p.m. local time at the town hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, to hear all interested persons on revised local law E proposed of 2019 entitled A Local Law to Amend the Zoning Law Addressing Natural Resource Protection. The revised local law amends Chapter 143 of the Town Code to address protection for natural resources in the town, including ground and surface waters, forests, and minerals, including soil. Please take further notice that copies of said proposed revised local law are available for review at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard in person or by directing comments in writing to the town board, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such a case, please notify the town clerk in advance at the above address or by phone 845-758-4606 so that arrangements can be made. By order of the town board of the town of Red Hook, dated June 11th, 2019, Sue McCann, town clerk, town of Red Hook.
Thank you very much, Sue. Okay, would anybody like to make some comments? Linda?
I have 3 issues.
Okay.
On June 14th, I sent letters to the Building and Zoning Department and the Rec Park Manager.
Linda,
I
I'm
have-
sorry, I'm stopping you just for one second, just to be sure. That, are you talking about the public hearing comments now? or
Oh,
you just
excuse
want-
me.
Yeah, on local law 8.
Okay.
Okay, we'll catch you in just a few
We'll
minutes.
catch that later.
Okay. Sorry, on local law E, the public hearing, would anybody like to make some comments? Very good. So before we close the public hearing, I'd like to, on the record, if we could just review our local waterfront revitalization program consistency determination. You had this in your packets previously. And I'll go through the document with you. Development policies. This is not a
Wait a
development
minute, which
project.
document now?
LWRP, Harry?
Mine was almost the last document, so
In this,
go
in
all the
this,
way to the back.
in this bunch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take your time. No hurry.
Okay. Next to the last. I have.
Yep, there you go.
On the second page, policy A, development, it's not applicable. It's consistent, number 5, because the proposed action would eliminate the potential for establishment of light industrial uses anywhere in the RD3 zoning district. And again, to remind the folks at home, a floating light industrial district means that it could be placed anywhere. And anywhere means in residential districts, and what we are doing is changing that so you don't have to worry that an industrial use is going to be located near your home. So it's consistent. Fish and wildlife policies, it's not a project, it's not applicable. Flooding and erosion hazards policies, so it is consistent. Even though no developments proposed as part of the action, the uses permitted by the action in the coastal area would be subject to review of the stormwater management implications by the town planning board. No development is proposed within the coastal area. Much of this is not applicable. General policy, recreation policies, historic. Scenic resources is consistent. We require approval by the town planning board of any significant modification of the land. It's consistent with agricultural lands policy because it would prohibit industrial uses from becoming established in our agricultural areas. Water and air resources policy. Non-applicable. Anybody, any questions about the LWRP? Okay, so we have a draft negative declaration. Seeker status 1. The description of the action is the town board has proposed enactment of an amendment to the town comprehensive plan addressing light industrial uses, as well as amendments to the town zoning law regarding resource protection, and specifically aquifer protection, water resources for public supply, erosion and sediment control, extractive operations including soil mining, timber harvesting, and the secondary impacts of water withdrawal and surface extraction. The town board has commissioned the Conservation Advisory Council to study the issues related to natural resource protection in the town and had enacted a moratorium during the duration of the planning studies. The CAC, working with the town planner, developed responsive zoning amendments designed to be consistent with the town comprehensive plan. One amendment to the comprehensive plan was identified as part of the study process, which was determined to be internally inconsistent with other elements of the comprehensive plan, and that again is the floating light industrial district. The proposed amendments have been designed to be consistent with greenway connections to the extent applicable to the town of Red Hook. And you see the draft neg deck here. The history, it was August 23rd, 2017, so that's how long we've been working on, nearly 2 years now. The town board enacted a moratorium on large-scale commercial extractive operations, and to simplify it for the folks at home, large-scale commercial activities will no longer be permitted in town. There are smaller activities depending upon the type and location, but this update to our zoning limits those activities. So at the time the town board authorized the CAC to study, we've gone over that. There was an extraction working group. Julia Solomon is here, who headed that along with others. So it was to provide us with an opportunity to study and find new ways to protect our aquifers in the town. And specifically, one of the things that we heard often from folks in the community is that they didn't want a large-scale bottling operation to be created here in town, that they were under the impression when Niagara Bottling walked away a few years ago that we had taken steps to ensure that large-scale water harvesting and sale, exporting out of our community was not permitted, but in fact, nothing had changed in our zoning. And so we are taking that step tonight. The neg deck talks again about the floating light industrial. Covers mining. It establishes thresholds for what we call small-scale timber harvesting and planning board approval of large-scale timber harvesting. Regulation of soil removal and regrading involving sites where no other development approvals have been secured. One of the things we want the folks at home to know is that we've spent a great deal of time and money on preserving our farms. And this legislation codifies the fact that the soils, which are an integral part of that farmland preservation effort, will be kept on site and will not be sold or exported.
Robert?
Yep.
And here, I think an important point to bring up is that it does note that in the 25 years, plus a little, that this light industrial option has been in zoning.
Mhm.
It has never been used.
Yep.
So that's important to note that
That was one of the reasons.
one of the reasons we were looking at including this in the package of updates.
Okay. It had not been effective, nor was it a risk we wanted to take. Are there any questions about this neg deck? Okay, so if you'll indulge me, we're going to take resolution number 67 first, which is the authorization to adopt the amendment to the comprehensive plan, because you are not supposed to adopt zoning that's not consistent with your comprehensive plan. So we'll tackle that first.
Close the public hearing.
Oh. We closed the public hearing on the comp plan amendment last meeting, so we're good to go on this.
All right, okay.
Okay. It's resolution number 67, dated June 26th, authorizing the adoption by the town board of the town of Red Hook of amendments to the comprehensive plan. I really should say amendment. It amends pages 22 and 23 by replacing the entire paragraph under the subheading light industrial use. And I so move.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you for keeping an eye out for me. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing on proposed local law E.
So move. Second.
Okay. We have a resolution number 68.
We gotta vote on the closer.
Oh, sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 68, adopting a secret determination of non-significance for local law number E proposed of 2019, and I guess this would be number 3, Sid, number 4, of local law? We'll find out.
4, I think.
4, okay.
I didn't check.
Local law number yet to be determined. Okay, whereas the town board is considering the adoption of local law number 4, amending the zoning law addressing natural resource protection. Whereas the board has classified the proposed action as type 1 under seeker and declared its intent to serve as lead agency. Whereas the law will be applicable throughout the town, a full EAF and coastal assessment form for the proposed action has been prepared, and the town board has considered the criteria and thoroughly analyzed all identified relevant areas of environmental concern. We've reviewed a draft notice of determination of non-significance, which we refer to as a negative declaration, and the supporting reasons for that. Whereas at its meeting held on June 3rd, 2019, the planning board determined that the proposed local law is consistent with the LWRP. The town board has revised the proposed local law, given the input. And its consistency with the town's LWRP remains. We've reviewed that with the planning board's finding of consistency. And now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Red Hook adopts a negative declaration and determines that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that a draft EIS will not be prepared. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay. We are down to resolution number 68, or was that 68?
That was
69. Thank you. Dated June 26, 2019. This is authorizing the adoption of the local law. Oh, that's local law number 5, so here's what it says. Okay, so we've got that. Whereas a proposed form of local law E, now called local law number 5, amends the zoning to address natural resource protection. It was presented back on May 14th. We reviewed a full environmental assessment form and CAF, classified it as type 1. We had a public hearing on May 29th to hear all interested parties, and that was continued into June. It was advertised in the Poughkeepsie Journal, the official newspaper. Pursuant to 239M of the General Municipal Law, a copy of the law was referred along with the EAF and CAF to county planning and to our planning board. And pursuant to 143-141 of Red Hook zoning law, a copy of the proposed local law was referred again to our town planning board on June 3rd, and a recommendation to amend certain aspects of the law was made and incorporated into a revised draft. On June 26, 2019, the town board adopted a negative declaration determining that the proposed adoption of the local law will not have a significant adverse effect. We've determined that the local law is consistent with the town's local waterfront revitalization plan. And after reviewing the comments received and due deliberation, we find it in the best interest of the town to adopt said local law in the form that it is attached. And I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, well, before we vote, I would like to thank Julia and the EW, what do you call it? EW, Environmental, what is that working group? EWG, for all your good work. This is very important legislation to protect our resources and the quality of life, and we thank you very much for putting it forth. So, all right.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. We are on to board reports.
Are we not doing the consolidated funding?
Oh, did I skip consolidated funding? Of course I did. Can you tell that I'm rushing tonight? That's what happens when you get 2 hours of sleep. You just want to make it through the meeting. Okay.
What were you doing, haying all night?
Yeah. You can't hay this year, Harry.
I guess not.
You can't get the 4 days of sunshine. All right. CFAs, so the applications are due at the end of July, and we have discussed a couple of options, one of which we know, which we'd like to explore, and that is another grant for our rec park. We were encouraged to reapply for the grant that we put out last year to Office of Parks Environmental Protection Fund. It's construction funds for park improvements. It appears we can ask for up to $600,000. The grant is a 50-50 match, which we know we're spending money doing the rec park construction work, so that's not an issue. The application is very similar to last year. Brandy says that there'll be some minor tweaks to it. They will emphasize the fact that now that the Empire State Trail is coming up River Road, and the trail component of this project will connect to that. So there may be added points for being, to have that ability. So that's a $600,000 potential fund source to complete the work that we'd like to do. The other application, and we don't need to do just one, the other one that we've discussed is an infrastructure engineering planning grant. Something Harry has been talking about now for quite some time, is in preparation for when, not if, but when the village sewer is installed in, say, 18 to 24 months. Do we want to be in a position to at least have evaluated the possibility of connecting the T and D districts, should those landowners so desire, up the Route 9 corridor to the village of Red Hook? And apparently a few of them are interested in that already. And so what the grant would do would be just to study the scope and evaluate alternatives and prepare planning level opinions of probable cost and so on and so forth. The grant for that is a maximum of $30,000 for small communities and requires a 20% match either in cash or in-kind services. I believe that our engineer thinks we can provide a match in kind. It will require a municipal resolution authorizing three things, which is the authority to execute a grant agreement, authorization of a local match, and a seeker type 2 designation of the action, because it's just a study. So she's attached some standard resolution language, and it would be good if a July board meeting took up the issue of the resolution if we were to be interested in these two grants. And so I would put forth for your consideration that we apply for these two projects and any others that you may think of between now and July. Any thoughts?
I would approve of all three.
And they
Well,
sound
we've got
like,
three resolutions, but we've got two projects, yeah?
right, but both projects sound like
Yeah.
good ones to me.
I just by happenstance spoke to her today.
Okay.
And she did say that we needed a letter from support from the village.
Oh,
And I
Okay.
said that's routine to get,
okay.
just something brief that
Okay.
that is in support of this, and it would be, and it's appropriate in that it will be ultimately connected with the village.
Okay.
I don't know whether she wrote that in here somewhere.
Okay.
that's what she
So,
said.
shall I construe from what you're saying that you'll authorize me to work with the engineer to prepare these two grant applications?
Yes.
I would-
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Very
That's a
good.
vote, I guess.
That's a vote. That's a motion. There's a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay.
So we can't pass these tonight?
You want to pass some resolutions tonight? All right. Sounds good. Christine wants to get some work done, okay. So there is a resolution to execute grant agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute a grant agreement with the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation and any and all other contracts, documents, and instruments necessary to bring about the project and to fulfill the town of Red Hook obligations under the engineering planning grant agreement.
So moved.
Is there a number for this resolution?
Well, we'll
This
call
would
it
be
70.
Okay. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, there is an authorization and appropriation of local match, so we have to approve that. Now therefore be it resolved, the town of Red Hook authorizes and appropriates a minimum of 20% local match as required by the engineering planning grant program for the wastewater feasibility evaluation project. Under the engineering planning grant program, this local match must be at least 20% of the grant award of, and I think we have decided we want to apply for the full $30,000, yes?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right. The maximum local share appropriated subject to any changes agreed to by the town supervisor shall not exceed $6,000. The total estimated maximum project cost is $30,000. The town supervisor may increase this match through the use of in-kind services without further approval from the town of Red Hook.
So moved.
Should that be 30,000 or 36,000? Should that,
For the maximum project cost?
Sure, let's do 36,000. We'll apply for 30
yeah.
in grant
Hmm.
and 6 in kind. Sounds good, Harry. So I modify that motion, and that would be resolution number 71. Is there a
Can you just
second?
repeat that, Robert? What is it? 20% of what amount? 30,000? 36?
20% of the grant award of 30,000.
Okay.
The maximum local share shall not exceed 6,000. The total estimated maximum project cost would be the two added together,
Okay,
37.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. And I made a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We do need to make a secret determination, and
So this is number 72?
72, it provides that certain actions identified in subdivision C of NYCRR section 617.5 Title 6 of the New York Code of Rules and Regs under seeker are not subject to environmental review under the environmental conservation law. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Red Hook determines that the proposed engineering report for the wastewater feasibility evaluation project is a type 2 action in accordance with these sections. And it constitutes just information collection, including basic data collection and research, water quality, pollution studies, traffic counts, engineering studies, surveys, subsurface investigations, and soil studies that do not commit the agency to undertake, fund, or approve any type 1 or unlisted action. Number 21, conducting concurrent environmental engineering, economic feasibility, and other studies and preliminary planning and budgetary processes necessary to the formulation of a proposal for action, provided those activities do not commit the agency to commence, engage in, or approve such action, and is therefore not subject to review under 6 NYCRR Part 617, and this is resolution number 72, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Well, that's very good to have that out of the way. Who wants to help write the grants? Okay, I don't see any hands. All right.
She said she was gonna do it.
Well, Christine, all right, good. Well, Christine, maybe you could review, and Harry, you're gonna wanna
There's,
review the sewer engineering grant language before it gets submitted, right?
Yeah,
To
yeah.
make sure it's consistent, okay.
Robert. So there's one last paragraph down there at the bottom. They'd like to know if the town is interested in pursuing CFA funds under the Water Quality Improvement Program for the construction of culvert improvements. The town has previously completed the study phase which prioritized culvert improvements, so is that something we want
I think we should
to
explore.
authorize you to explore?
I think we should explore it. We may have to figure out how to take advantage of the work that we've done before on culverts, some of which have a higher environmental benefit, some of which are, in bad need of attention sooner rather than later. So we'll work with Teresa and our other engineers to take a look at what may be possible. Is that something we could try to do maybe in the next couple of weeks? Take a look at.
Is this something that's a matching grant? Well, she didn't write that into
She
it, so I
didn't
don't
put
know.
that in there. Yeah, so I don't know
Some of that
what,
impact
sometimes they
on
change it,
budget.
yeah. So let's take a look at all that and see if there's something we want to apply for. If you could let us know, we'll get the information sent to you, but if there's something that.
And is it due?
End of the next month. End of next month. Okay. Shall we do board reports?
Public comment?
Oh, public comments, thank you, Linda. You can see I'm tired, I'm forgetting several things tonight, I apologize.
Okay, sorry for that interruption before.
No, it's fine.
Okay,
It's fine. We're all human.
All right, I have 3 comments or points of interest. On June 14th, I sent emails to the Building and Zoning Department and the Rec Park Manager on the inaccessibility of, number 1, Greg's Farm Barn. I indicated, enumerated all the things that I saw. It's not a total amount, but it's just off the top. And I also sent a copy to Teresa Burke because on special events, cars are parking all over the road and narrowing that road. There is no signage for parking on his grasslands where they're supposed to be. Also, Greg did not go through the planning board process. So to me, it's totally illegal what he's doing. For the playground, I also indicated the problems and possible solutions. I gave you a list with the price and the item so that this could be added to whatever's going on. And I specifically noted that there was a deviation from the public plan in which asphalt is supposed to be in there, and there is not.
Oh,
At this
I don't mean to interrupt you,
Go
but
ahead.
asphalt is coming. It's just being done with all the other work. And those chips are actually recommended. John,
Well-
if you ask John, he can send you the materials on it. They're recommended.
This is changing a lot. This is an area that accessibility for playgrounds and all is changing.
Mhm.
They're having, in fact, a meeting in a couple of weeks on it.
Okay.
So I would like this board to impress upon your employees that when they receive a complaint, they should respond to it. Usually it's in 1 to 2 days. I have never had a problem with the town clerks or Jackie or Ann, they respond back. So you need to put a little pressure on them to get them working as a business. Okay, number 2, the website. It's terrible still. Even the reporter is having problems finding stuff. And I'm having problems finding stuff. I was trying to figure out if there was a meeting tonight, so I'd go to the calendar, and I went to the one calendar and there was nothing on it. Then I had to scroll around, so I'm clicking. I finally got to a calendar where it said town board meeting for tonight. But you shouldn't have to do that. It should be more direct. Also, the website cannot read to you the information. The Dutchess County website reads to you. They use Recite. I mean, you can just ask them for that program and put it on yours. Also,
I don't know if Sarah had a chance to take a look at that. She's not here tonight,
okay,
so
but she hasn't
we'll
gotten
follow
back
up.
to me either.
She hasn't, okay.
No. And the fonts you can't increase or decrease. Oh, at the rec park, I also noticed that the water fountain doesn't work. There's nothing coming through. However, they were able to bring a truck the other day and take water out of the
Fire.
fire.
Yeah.
What was the
Yeah, the rec park is aware of the water fountain.
Okay. Number 3, I'd like to know the status of these following groups. St. Margaret's Committee, I've been asking you to get people on that and get that going. The Ethics Board, they haven't met. And the Ag and Open Space Meeting hasn't met. So you need to do your job in filling these positions so that the town government can run more smoothly and have more input from the residents.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Anybody else like to make some public comments? Okay, thank you very much. All right, board reports. Town of Red Hook Planning Board report. Christine, if you'd be kind enough to summarize for us.
Sure. This is the May report, and the planning board met twice during May. They held a public hearing and granted conditional approval to Rugi's Red Hook Holding on South Broadway for a minor subdivision, and that involved 7293 South Broadway, conveying .361 acres from the parent parcel of 2.3 acres into an adjacent parcel that they owned that was .915 acres to create a new lot of 1.276 acres, and then they still own the adjacent lot. And this is located in the TND District Commercial Center. Board members discussed the limitations and potentials of the site a bit more and generally agreed the proposed project does close off some options for future development but creates opportunities as well. And they did adopt and give conditional approval to that. Savona's Restaurant, also in that area at 7249 South Broadway, received site plan approval to install an 865 square foot seasonal outdoor patio in front of the building and related landscaping. The county planning department had said it was a matter of local concern, and there was some discussed about whether, sort of lighting and if there'd be umbrellas and that sort of thing looking in the front of the building. And the board commenced or continued to review the kayak launch at Tivoli Bays. So they reviewed the town's local waterfront revitalization plan and reviewed the proposal for the project as currently envisioned, and they determined that it was consistent with the LWRP. In other business, they reviewed a request for extension from the development project known as Preserve at Lakeskill. And they asked for a motion to grant a 90-day extension. The board reviewed a memo from the project's attorney outlining the outstanding issues, and one board member felt that she was, I guess, still new and needed to get some more information. So they did not have 4 votes needed to grant the extension, so it was tabled until their next meeting. From the Ground Brewery is required to make some modifications due to Dutchess County Department of Health requirements. And they had originally proposed to use porta potties for their outside area, and so they can't do that anymore. So they will not be, because they can't, he said he can't afford to do a septic system, so they will not be serving draft beers. They will only fill beverage containers known as growlers, which people can then consume on site if they choose to. Excuse me. The board agreed that this did not require any changes to the site plan. They also discussed regulations concerning having food trucks on the site, expanding the area where beverages could be consumed, and signage. The board generally agreed that the signs can be changed as long as the placement and size is consistent with the site plan. But if they want to enlarge the area where beverage consumption would be allowed, that would require an amended site plan. And the planning board reviewed the seeker lead agency circulation from the town and village regarding the solar co-location project at the Village of Red Hook Wellfield. And 9 acres of that area will be used for ground-mounted solar panels. And this was already completed, but at the time, the village was working through its seeker process. So, that's that.
Thanks.
Does anybody besides me know what a growler is?
Well,
Not know, you mean?
yeah.
Oh, you know what it is, you mean?
I do.
I don't drink, so.
We had one in my house for all the time that I was a kid. And I went way out of my way to find out what it was. And it's a small bucket with a lid on it and a loop handle. And apparently it was handed down in my family because in the early days you couldn't buy beer in the bottles or whatever. You had to go into the saloon with your growler and take the beer home to pop.
It's an environmentally friendly way to do it. Okay. ZBA, Bill?
The ZBA met on June 12th, principally after a public hearing on an application for an area variance to install a prefabricated storage unit at a location at 8 Columbia Avenue in our RD 1.5 zoning district of town. Actually, there was nobody that spoke up at the public hearing, and after that, the ZBA considered the application, reviewed all the documents presented, and voted to grant the requested variance and passed the motion to grant it. And the second thing that was done was the beginning of a hearing on an application by a resident of Williams Road for an interpretation with respect to a fence on a user road. And the ZBA considered that for a period of time and then adjourned the matter for a further interpretation date in August, on August 14th, that night's agenda of the ZBA. In the meantime, they'll meet again on July 10th. But the application for the interpretation was adjourned to the August 14th meeting.
Good. Thank you very much, Bill. Christine, we have a report now from our departments, the assessor's office.
Yep. So this is for the month of June, and they have been focusing on finalizing the final assessment roll for 2019. All of the Board of Assessment review decisions have been made and letters have been sent to grievance applicants, and there were a total of 25 grievance applications. The final roll will be published on July 1st, 2019. It can be accessed either on the town's website or through Dutchess County Real Property. In other news, in the month of May, there were a total of 9 sales, 5 in the town, and 2 sales in the Village of Red Hook, 2 sales in the Village of Tivoli. The assessor attended a meeting in Millbrook to discuss the new Enhanced STAR program. New York State Tax and Finance will now be processing all the Enhanced STAR exemptions as they have done with Basic STAR in the past.
Okay, thank you very much. Harry, we have a report here from the building department. A rather lengthy report, the summary page of which is,
The summary is in the front, and I think that's about all I have to do. The
Okay.
certificate of compliance, the number of actions, the certificate of compliance is for 18, and the certificates of occupancy were 6 for a total of 24. And there's multiple pages of details of what was done in each of these.
okay,
And then the last page, Harry, the amount of money collected. Flip it over in the back.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Keep going, back, last page.
$8,574 was collected from permits issued by the building department.
okay, Bill, we have a police department report.
Well, the police department, for the period the past month, reported incidents of 105, and total arrests, number 10, and total tickets issued, 51. And that would be for the period of roughly May of 2019.
Okay, very good. Harry, water district report.
Okay. Everything, all measurements were passed with flying colors. We had unusual amount of water pumped to fill swimming pools, which I guess is a yearly happening. There's a number of ongoing work being done on the pumps and whatever, all of which is moving along well.
Okay.
And there is nothing, particularly notable.
Okay.
It's business as usual.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Harry. I'll report on the Disaster Preparedness Committee. As you know, they submitted the updated local emergency plan to the town board for our adoption at our June 11th meeting, and it was in fact adopted then. Might have been the June 18th one, but the committee identified the need to involve the village mayors in a more active way, and they're going to invite them to serve on the committee. They'll also work with the town's communication committee on disseminating emergency-related information to residents. And they'll work with the Red Hook Commons to have the Citizens Preparedness Workshops offered to the residents. And talking about shelters, so the high school was the emergency shelter and cannot be during construction, so we're looking at what we can do temporarily to get a new shelter at one of the school buildings. Okay, there's also going to be a tabletop exercise. I may have mentioned this to you before. Certainly for town board members who are going to be remaining in 2020. That's you, Bill, and Christine. That may be something that will be important for you to attend. Okay. We have your task force working group report, Bill.
Well, at weekly meetings, the task force continued to discuss with our town planner the drafts of proposed regulations for Airbnbs and STRs, short-term rentals in the town of Red Hook, and to consider zoning language to apply to these subjects and to recommend to the town board. So underlying these efforts is an attempt to come up with a policy on these subjects to be recommended to the town board for application throughout the town of Red Hook. And that discussion continues.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Senior Services, I'll do a quick report. The committee met at the community center for their Give a Child Summer Meal Food Drive, which I think was successful. Present there were Rose Ryder, Angie Hahn, the center's director, Sarah Ugolini, and program director, Jenna Seeley, Duchess Cap Family Resource Program Director, Samantha Riley, and Duchess Cap Red Hook Office, our own Janice Gillard, as well as community volunteers. They had a van in the community center parking lot for collecting the proceeds. That's Duchess Cap, and that's where the proceeds went, was to them. They're used to provide weekly groceries for the entire summer to every child in the school district who qualifies for subsidized meals during the course of the school year. The committee thanks everyone who gave as generously as possible, and they would like to remind you, if you are a family, if you are a senior, or just somebody who wants to find out about programs that may be available to you, that the Red Hook Community Action Partnership maintains a local office here in Red Hook. That's Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. It's just about a block and a half east from the intersection. It says that it's located at the rear entrance of 44 West Market, but in fact it's East Market, I believe, and that's where you're reflecting. Okay, Sarah is to report tree preservation meeting, and she is not here. Christine, would you like to do that?
Sure. The Tree Preservation Committee met on June 18th, and so the newly planted London plane tree on Pitcher Lane has died as a result of frost cracking and will be replaced in the fall. A list of options for the town of the Rhinebeck Bank / town building project was compiled, and the next step is collaborating with Teresa Burke about finalizing plans for that. A flowering cherry will be planted in the St. John's Reformed Church Cemetery on the corner of Starbark and Old Post Road in the fall as a gift from the Old Dutch Village Garden Club, which has held its monthly meetings at the church for many years. Committee member Hop Michael will contact John Kuhn about maintaining the new planting by the rec park sign. 3 of the new bicolor oaks on Pitcher Lane continue to be, in quotes, floppy. Committee member and arborist Cody Hay will do some selective pruning in an attempt to improve that situation. Mill Road School now has a paid staff member who will take over part of our Arbor Day School program, and she'll be in charge of ordering trees for the school and planting them. And the committee will continue the poster contest and the wood walks.
Okay. Linda, it sounds like you have some work to do. You have 3 floppy trees and a
2 floppy trees.
2. Oh, it's
I
2.
actually helped plant those trees, and I knew they were a problem.
Okay. All right, very good. That's all we have.
Highway Department.
Oh, sorry, Teresa, do we have a highway department here? Or are you gonna make it just
It's not an
verbal?
official report, I'm just gonna give a verbal.
Okay, on the roads, great, thank you.
The Town of Red Hook Highway Department will be replacing culvert pipe and drainage features on Old Post North, starting at the Spring Lake Road intersection and continuing north for approximately 600 feet. The road will be closed from the Spring Lake intersection to the Pitcher Lane intersection while the work is underway, and this is expected to start July 8th. The road will be closed, but passable for residents and local traffic only. Like I said, expect construction to take 1 to 2 weeks depending on the weather and sub-base conditions. Please plan accordingly. Thanks for your patience. If you have any questions, just contact the Highway Department. That's it. Also, some good news from the state. In the first budget, they took away our extreme winter recovery funds that are about $24,000, and they reinstated them with the last legislature session. So we're getting that money back again, which is good because that's a good portion of our CHIPS funding.
Teresa, did you want to take a moment also while you're up to just let the folks know approximate timelines for the Stony Brook culvert project? Of course, we don't know for sure, but just to give them some idea. I just had even today somebody inquire about when.
Well, from what I understand, the contracts have gone back to the people who are going to be building it, and might take 6 to 8 weeks for the cast culvert to come in. So it just depends on when the supplier can give us the pieces for the bridge. When we get the pieces for the bridge, then they'll be able to start the demolition, and hopefully the construction will be done before the blacktop plants close in the fall. But we're not absolutely certain because it is all weather dependent. So hopefully by November, blacktop plants are usually open till around Thanksgiving. But if we can't get a surface on the road for the winter, then the bridge will remain closed until they open in the spring. So it's all tentative at this point, but there have been contracts that are being negotiated, so it's coming.
Thank you very much. Okay. Without further ado, I would, before we make a motion to close the meeting,
Public comment?
is there more public comment? No, there's no more public comment. Okay, seeing none. At this time, before we conclude the meeting, and thank you for joining us, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for a matter under negotiation. And is there a second?
Negotiation.
Second.
Rob, what kind of negotiations?
A real estate negotiation.
Where public discussion would
Yes.
significantly affect the price?
Yes.
Is this the St. Sylvia property?
Was there a second?
Was there a second? Harry seconded it? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Here it
Is this
is.
the St. Sylvia?
Aye.